Knock knock, who's there? Why, it's your favourite YouTube channel, back once again to celebrate the greatest video games ever made. And this time we're casting our minds all the way back to the year 2013. God, it's basically ancient history, isn't it? In order to appreciate what a good year 2013 was to be a gamer, you need only look at the titles that didn't quite do well enough with reviewers to make this list. Saints Row 4, Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, and Dota 2 all released in 2013 to excellent critical reception, but still weren't good enough to earn a spot in this top 10, so you just know the upcoming bunch of titles are some real corkers. Before we get to the games, however, we must establish the rules. A title can qualify for this list if it was released in 2013 in at least one territory and received a minimum of 7 professional reviews. We don't include ports, re-releases, or collections in these rankings, but remasters and remakes are fair game. So, with all of that nice and clear, I'm Peter from TripleJump, and here are the 10 best games of 2013. Number 10, The Stanley Parable, PC, 90.25%. We begin today's Best of X Year list with something of a strange game, though it's one that's definitely worth your time, as long as you can get on board with how bizarre it is. In The Stanley Parable, players take control of the eponymous Stanley, a man who works in an office building and is tasked with monitoring the data that comes through on his computer screen and pressing buttons appropriately. One day, however, the screen goes unexpectedly blank, and not knowing what to do, Stanley goes for a wander, only to find that the building is completely abandoned. Throughout the game, players are presented with a series of diverging pathways, and they can choose to obey the narrator or not, with the ending they get depending on what decisions they make. The Stanley Parable was commended by critics for its themes of existentialism and its commentary on story-driven games, as well as its sense of humour and the variety of possibilities it presented to players. Those looking for tons of action probably won't get much out of the Stanley Parable, but if you're happy to have a bit of a crisis as you ponder whether you can ever truly have freedom in a video game, then it might be right up your alley. Number 9, The Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds, 3DS, 91%. We're taking a trip to the Kingdom of Hyrule now as we look at The Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds. This 3DS exclusive takes place many years after the events of A Link to the Past, and follows everyone's favourite Peter Pan lookalike as he embarks on a quest to save the Princess Zelda, who has been kidnapped by evil sorcerer Yuga and taken to the parallel world of Lorule. Yes, the parallel alternative to Hyrule is literally called Lorule. Not long after embarking on his adventure, Link is granted the ability to merge with walls, which allows him to reach previously inaccessible areas and travel between Hyrule and Lorule. According to the good folks over at Metacritic, A Link Between Worlds was the second best 3DS game of 2013, and the third best 3DS title of all time. The gameplay, including the changes to the established Zelda formula, was commended, as were the game's story, puzzles, dungeons, and boss encounters. In short, A Link Between Worlds was one of the very best reasons to own a 3DS. Oh, A Link Between Worlds. Oh, I get it now, because he's called Link and travels between two worlds. Number 8, The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker HD, Wii U, 91.08%. Wait, what's this? 2 Zelda titles in a row? Oh boy, or girl, or other, what a treat this is. The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker HD is a high-definition remaster of the 2002 GameCube title, The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker, though you could probably gather that from its name. Like the 2002 version, The Wind Waker HD takes place on a group of islands which can be travelled between by boat, and sees series protagonist Link setting out on a quest to save his sister from the clutches of the evil sorcerer Ganondorf. The gameplay is largely unchanged from the original, though the Wii U's gamepad serves as a map and inventory. Additionally, the graphics have been given a nice shiny high-def overhaul, and the lighting has also been improved. Critics focused most of their praise on the updated visuals, which were a marked improvement over those in the original, properly showcasing the vivid colours of the stunning world. The remaster was so brilliant, in fact, that in the weeks following its release, sales of the Wii U increased by 685% in the UK, which you can only assume took the console's overall sales to somewhere in the region of 10 units or something. Number 7. Fire Emblem Awakening, 3DS, 92.52%. Although Fire Emblem Awakening got its Japanese release in April 2012, it didn't make its way to the rest of the world until the following year, and as such, it's a perfect candidate for this list. This tactical RPG is the 13th installment in the Fire Emblem series, and tells the story of Chrom, the Prince of Elise, and his personal army as they travel across the realm and defend it from the hostile nation of Plegia, as well as scores of the undead. Players take control of a customizable avatar and take part in a series of battles that they can only emerge victorious from by strategically placing their units to fight enemy ones. The game also allows players to build relationships between its characters, explore the world, and upgrade their abilities to make them more effective in combat. Fire Emblem Awakening released to widespread critical acclaim, with reviewers lauding both its strategy and RPG elements, which were even more impressive when you consider the game was for a handheld console, as well as its storytelling, interesting characters, and its audio-visual presentation. You better not be sleeping on this particular title, is all I'm saying. Number 6. Rayman Legends, Wii U, 93%. Seeing Rayman Legends on this list makes us a little bit sad, as it serves as a reminder that it's been over a decade now since we got a mainline Rayman title. Come on, Ubisoft, stop faffing about with Assassin's Creed and give us more of our favourite limbless protagonist, please. Rayman Legends takes place 100 years after the events of Rayman Origins, during which time Rayman, Glowbox, and the Teensies have been asleep. All is not well, however, as the Bubble Dreamer's nightmares have grown in strength and number, and the magician has split into 5 dark Teensies and kidnapped the 10 princesses of the land. I reckon there's only one floaty appendaged fellow that can solve this giant mess. Like its predecessors, Rayman Legends is a game of the platforming persuasion, and up to 4 players must make their way through each of the game's levels, collecting lums and Teensies as they go. Critics were blown away by the game, complimenting the design and variety of the levels. Despite an excellent critical reception though, Rayman Legends failed to meet commercial expectations, having sold fewer than 1 million units by the end of 2013. I guess the takeaway here is we can't have more Rayman until we start actually appreciating the Rayman we've already got. Number 5. Super Mario 3D World, Wii U, 93%. We're sticking with platformers for the moment as we turn our attention to Super Mario 3D World for the Wii U. Series antagonist Bowser is back on his bull honky again in Super Mario 3D World, only this time he's kidnapped a bunch of fairy-like creatures called Sprixies, and it's up to everyone's favourite mustachioed plumber, actually my favourite's Luigi, to save the day and give Bowser what for, as usual. The gameplay combines the free-roaming elements of previous 3D Mario titles with some of the mechanics of the 2D games, and at the beginning of each level, players can choose whether they prefer to play as Mario, Luigi, Peach, Toad, or Rosalina, with each character having their own strengths and weaknesses. Levels are accessed via a world map, which also contains a number of hidden areas where players can find additional coins or items. Super Mario 3D World garnered universal acclaim, with critics applauding the innovative level design, the youthful energy of the visuals, the game's competent multiplayer, and the challenge posed by some of the later levels. So congratulations yet again, Mario and Chums, for being the very best game of the year. Oh no, sorry, force of habit, he's normally number 1. Number 4, Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, PC, 93.12%. I hope you've got some tissues to hand, because this is a game that'll hit you right in the feels. Directed by Joseph Fares, who is perhaps best known for 2018's A Way Out and 2021's It Takes Two, Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons tells the story of Nai and Naya, a pair of siblings who embark on a journey to collect water from the Tree of Life in order to save their dying father. Players control the two brothers separately, with each having their own unique abilities. Naya, the older of the two, is stronger, whilst Nai is smaller and can pass through narrow gaps, and they must use each of the duo's strengths to solve puzzles and progress. Upon its release, Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons received universal critical acclaim, with reviewers calling out its touching and emotional story, its visual style, and its controls as reasons why the title resonated with them. Admittedly, the sedate pace of the game means that it certainly isn't for everyone, but those looking for a title that's narrative-driven, visually stunning, and one that might just bring them to tears would certainly have a wonderful time, if a sad one, with Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. Number 3. The Last of Us, PS3, 95.09%. Load those shotguns, stockpile those baked beans, and bar your doors and windows, everyone, because it's zombie time! The Last of Us largely takes place some 20 years after the cordyceps fungus has destroyed much of humanity, turning its victims into mindless flesh-eating zombies. The story focuses on protagonist Joel, a smuggler who must deliver a young girl named Ellie to resistance group the Fireflies, as Ellie is immune to the effects of the deadly fungus and might just be the key to a cure. Gameplay-wise, players can expect a third-person action-adventure experience with gunplay, stealth, and a hefty focus on narrative and the relationships between characters. Upon its release, The Last of Us was a huge success, with reviewers lavishing praise upon its story, characters, audiovisual design, and the performances of Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson as Joel and Ellie, respectively. Not only did The Last of Us perform well critically and commercially though, but it won a bunch of awards, so many in fact that there's an entire Wikipedia article dedicated to the subject, and went on to spawn a sequel released in 2020, and an HBO TV show starring the Mandalorian himself, Pedro Pascal, and the wonderful Lady of Bear Island, Bella Ramsey. All in all then, I think it's fair to say that this game was a success. Number 2. BioShock Infinite, PS3, 95.94%. We hope you're not afraid of heights, because we're jetting off into the clouds now as we take a look at BioShock Infinite, the second sequel to 2K's fantastic 2007 first-person shooter. Unlike BioShock and BioShock 2, which both took place in the underwater city of Rapture, BioShock Infinite is set in the airborne city of Columbia, a place that may be somewhat drier than Rapture, but no less of a nightmare. The story follows Booker DeWitt, a man who is sent to Columbia to retrieve a young woman named Elizabeth, but ends up embroiled in a class war between the city's founders and the rebel militia Vox Populi. Like its predecessors, BioShock Infinite is a first-person shooter with role-playing elements, but rather than the developers bestowing the protagonist with plasmids, Booker gets vigors, which are, in practice, much the same thing. Many critics compared Infinite favourably to BioShock 1, with some even going as far as to say that Infinite was the better of the two. The story received widespread acclaim, as did the setting, visual design, and twist ending, which isn't quite as iconic as Would You Kindly, but is up there with the best plot twists in gaming history. And number 1, Grand Theft Auto 5, PS3, 97.01%. This isn't the first time that one of Rockstar's steely-wheely automobile titles has made it to the top of one of these lists, and assuming we ever get a follow-up, we doubt it will be the last. Grand Theft Auto 5 is set in the fictional US city of Los Santos and tells the stories of retired bank robber Michael, street gangster Franklin, and drug dealer Trevor as they attempt to pull off heists, all while dealing with pressure from other criminals and a corrupt government agency. story. Throughout the single-player campaign, players switch between the three protagonists and traverse the vast open world using a wide array of vehicles. Explore the state, make some money, meet wonderful new people, and shoot them in the face. The world really is your heavily armed oyster. According to our pals over at Game Rankings, GTA 5 is the third best game ever made, and it's easy to see why it was received so well. The mission design is flawless, the characters are interesting, the world is vast and filled with things to do, and the whole thing looks and sounds extraordinary, or at least it did when it first released anyway. So well done to you, Grand Theft Auto 5, for being the absolute best video game of 2013. We're certain that Grand Theft Auto 6 will be along any day now, right?